welcome along to today's United Kingdom talk. Sorry, did you ever just a bit of a squeak there or me clearing my throat? How rude is that? How I forgot to turn the microphone. Usually I don't have the microphone on until the very moment I welcome you to a little morsel of 3 times a week fun here on United Kingdom Talk. Yes, any new listeners or viewers, a very warm welcome to you. This is United Kingdom Talk with myself, Chris Reardon, and his still dodgy eye. I have a bit of a bad eye at the moment. I'm not sure if it is a sty or not. I thought styes were pretty large things that appeared in your... not pigsties, of course not, dear. Although, I mean, judging by some of the premises I've visited recently, they are pigsties, disgusting places. Although not my sister's place or in my niece's house. They are not pigsties. They are nice places. I told you this programme is always very random, jumping from one thing to the other. No, I've got a bit of a sty in my eye. Now, this has been about 2 weeks now, and I think it's slowly getting better, but it's not getting any worse. So that's the most important thing. Of course, nice, kind people who always care about my health and well-being keep advising me to go to the doctor and places like that. But, you know, I do tend to leave these things far too long, which is probably why I got in such trouble with a burst appendix about 11 years ago now. Anyway, I've got a load, I've got so much to tell you today that we're not going to fit it all in at all, as well as still trying to get through this lovely, very kind of you to send pile of emails that I have here. And also some more on my recent visit to my sisters. I have to tell you, I have replenished my little supply of tea bags. Not only that, do you know, I'm a bit warm in it. Do you mind if I turn my air conditioning on today? Oh, yes. Of course we've got air conditioning here in the Mirable Street. Look, proper air conditioning. With a little, let me just, there we are. See? Bleep. Isn't it marvellous? I'm going to close the window. Stay there a second. 1 minute, I'll be back in a minute. Don't you dare go away. Hang on, we've got to close all the doors. Otherwise, it's a bit of a waste of money if we don't do that. There we are. All doors closed, air conditioning on, list of things to talk about, emails, and most importantly, you're there as well. Now, there's an email address to the show. It's chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Please feel free to join in at any time. chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Yes, I have my new tea bags. Now, I haven't been into London to get those because, you know, I have become quite liking of the Fortnum & Mason's Royal Blend. But they're not cheap. They are not cheap. However, up at the supermarket, they had on... Are you wobbling a bit, dear? I'm sorry, my little camera's wobbling a bit. They have on special offer... Ding! There's nothing better, is there, than being in a shop and seeing that sign, special offer. Sorry, can you hear that air conditioning? Is it too loud? Is it all right? Can you hear that or not? It's like a quite whirring noise as the air is ejaculated from the slats in front of it. The slats in front of my air conditioning are ejecting cool air as we speak. They are, dear. Oh, it's lovely. Oh. Maybe I should have sat here in one of those butch vests today and done the show. Anyway, so up at the supermarket, they have got a special offer on possibly the world's most famous tea, Twinings. Oh, which one was it now? Twinings Everyday Tea in a yellow box. Okay, very nice. You should be able to get that or perhaps order it wherever you are in the world. Quite a famous brand, that is. Twinings, in my opinion, make the best tea. And on the special everyday, what is it, the everyday tea they're doing in the yellow box, special offer at the moment, and it's about, I would say it's less than half price it normally is. So I rushed out and purchased 2 boxes of that at 99 pence, and not only that, boys and girls, I also purchased the Twinings English breakfast tea, but it was a lot dearer. Now, I've never had the Twinings everyday tea before, so I just bought 2 boxes of that on special, and it's actually quite nice. So I'll probably go up and buy a few more boxes before the special offer comes off. All right? I mean, thank God I can have a proper cup of tea after that disaster as you heard in the last show, where we served tea in a restaurant, not only in the restaurant in the north of England, dear, and they hadn't got a clue how to make tea. Do you remember? Didn't you hear that show? Oh, well, it's gone now, dear. It's gone now. The show in question, if you missed it, you must listen to that, because I'm telling you all about this restaurant that we went to. OK, the food was edible, it was clean, but it just wasn't a good experience. And you can hear more about that, although I'm afraid I do not mention the name of the restaurant. You'll have to email me if you're ever in the north, if you're ever going to the north of England. Email me and I'll tell you where not to go, OK? If you missed that show and you want to hear all about it, then just go to the main United Kingdom Talk website. That's at unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. All right, unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk, and look at the show dated the Tuesday, the 29th of July 2008. Okay, so I've got my new tea bags. What else have I been doing? Yesterday I was at my uncle's funeral. I think I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, one of my uncles died. That would be my mum's brother. And we had the funeral on Monday, it was, at St George's Cathedral in Southwark, which was at 10 o'clock in the morning. Now, those of you that know London, I'm outside London, and of course to get anywhere at 10 o'clock on a Monday morning is a bit of a, you know, a bit of a gamble doing that. So what I did, I finished work at 2 o'clock on Sunday night. I then drove somewhere and stayed there for a while. I thought, well, I'll sleep on the floor there. I say the floor. There's like a foam, just a bit of foam on the floor. There was in this particular place. It was dirt cheap. It was only 12 quid to stay there, but terrible trouble sleeping. And of course, it would be one of the hottest nights of the year as well, wouldn't it? So there I am, trying to sleep on this floor. Oh, but I think I managed a couple of hours sleep, and from there I went direct to my uncle's house. Now he lived in Kennington with his wife Renee, and they also have a daughter Susan, but she doesn't live there. She's got a boyfriend and lives with him. And got to the house round about, what would it be? Being about 8:45 in the morning. And the flowers, so many lovely flowers, you know, all laid down on the pavement outside my auntie's house. Really nice. And I had the black suit and the black tie on and all that business. And I bought a pair of black trousers last week. Actually, very good price on the black trousers I got as well. From Asda, £10. £10 for a pair of black trousers. That's all right. And they look fine. There's nothing wrong with them at all. Can't understand these people who spend a fortune. As I've said before, they spend a fortune on designer clothes. I bet Ryan, all right, Ryan in Kidderminster doesn't, does he? Ryan, do you spend money on clothes? Or are you a sports world person, the same as me, and Asda and Tesco's and all those, are you? I bet you are. It's good quality, it's good quality. So, that was that. And then the big posh cars come, lovely, black Mercedes car. So that took us to the cathedral. And the service went on there. Also, my sister and little nephew Jimmy and niece Tracy came down from Lincoln on the train, which she said was a good journey. My auntie Brenda was Michael's sister and also my mum's sister, so she came down as well. I was kind of thinking about that because there was like Biddy or Bridget, that's my mum. There's Brenda, my mum's sister, and Michael, my mum's brother. And my mum's gone in 2000, and now Michael has gone a couple of weeks ago, and that only leaves Brenda. Must be awful, you know, when there's like 3 of you, brothers and sisters like that, and now 2 have gone. I wonder how that feels. It's just horrible, isn't it? Perhaps, are you a part of a load of brothers and sisters? Maybe you are the last one left. How does that feel? What goes through your mind, as a matter of interest? If you want to share that with us, I'd love to know. It's Chris at unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. All right, Chris at unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Just you know, if you want to share it, you don't have to, of course, if you don't want to. I just wonder how that feels. It must be awful. you know. Anyway, so they came down and the service went ahead. Lovely priest, very nice man. And I did a reading as well. Now, unfortunately, I wasn't allowed to make everyone laugh. That's, I'll be honest with you, that is usually how I deal with situations that are very, very sad. I try and make people smile. Maybe not as bouncy and happy as I tend to be for this show, but I'll drop in a couple of things here and there to try and make people, you know, smile a little bit, although not taking it away from the seriousness of such an occasion. So the funeral mass was in St George's Cathedral. That finished, and from there we all went in cars to Streatham Vale Crematorium, where there was another short service there. Oh, that was hot in there. It was much hotter than it was in the cathedral, and they played my Uncle Michael's favourite show tune, which was Somewhere, la 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 la. You know that one by Barbara Streisand? Yeah, nice that is. Because my uncle and his wife, they do run a dance school in London for young people. Now, I can't remember what it's called offhand. Let me just bring this up, and then I'll be able to tell you what it is. I do believe there's a website as well, although I've never actually done it. Now, it's actually my auntie who's, like, runs the school, and my uncle used to look after all the paper and deal with all it. That's it. Super Arts Agency. I'm not actually sure if they have a website. Let me, Super Arts. Let's have a look. I don't have anything up there at all, actually. No. Anyway, the agency is called Super Arts, and they teach young children and that to do dancing and what have you. So, yeah, then we went to the crematorium. They played that tune. My cousin, Susan, that would be Michael's daughter, she went up and said a few words at the end of the service, which was all very, very nice. It's nice, you know. And then the curtains closed on the coffin, and really that was it. And then we went outside and looked at so many lovely flowers. Really was some lovely flowers out there. One flower arrangement in particular caught my eye was a very large cross. You know, it was very long and wide. It had all red ribbons around the outside of the cross, and white. Oh, now were they roses? I can't remember. There might have been white chrysanthemums. But very nice anyway. Some sort of white flower going right the way up and across on the cross. So nice. Such beautiful flowers. And always, I'm sure you've noticed, when you go to a funeral and there's lots and lots of flowers, the smell is just beautiful, isn't it? Did anyone listening or watching ever go past the place where Diana had all her flowers? I mean, it was a big park in the Notting Hill area of London. And as you went past it, the aroma of these beautiful flowers was just quite something. Anyone remember that? Where Princess Diana had all her flowers. That's a long time ago now, isn't it, eh? Blimey. About 11 years. So that was the funeral. After that, we then went back to a church hall where my auntie and cousin had arranged some food. Now, usually, of course, at a wake or something like that, you know, it's a few pints of beer and some a buffet. But she'd actually done a sit-down meal. It was funny. It was almost a little bit like a wedding reception. And there was sausage and mash. There was shepherd's pie. And there was, what was the other thing? And fish pie and trifle. And I was a bit naughty, really. Of course, I was with my little nephew most of the time, and we're sitting there. And I said, as soon as I saw, I'm always one for food. Okay, if you ever have a wedding or a party or something like that, and you invite me there, you're likely to find me in the kitchen picking. I'm sorry, that's how I am. Usually in the kitchen picking sausage rolls. Of course, there was none of that there. This was a lovely, really nice sit-down meal. The only thing was, it was a church hall, and my God, it was hot in there. We were all sitting there in black jackets. I took the jacket off in the end, and I had fortunately, I had a short-sleeved white shirt on. So it was so hot in there, it was unbelievable. Not only that, but there was I think there was 6 people on the table and there was 7 in our group. So we even squeezed someone else onto the table, which was my sister, actually. I mean, quite frankly, I would have been happy for her to sit on another table on her own, but that's the way it is. So my nephew's sitting there. I said, "You coming out to get something to eat?" "Oh, I don't really want something." And immediately this idea just dropped into my head. I don't know why, but you know, at occasions like this, you go up, you take your food, and it's put on your plate. Okay, almost like school dinners. Oh, I loved school dinner. I went to the London Oratory School. Okay, and they did the best school dinners ever. Oh, it was fantastic. Headmaster was John McIntosh at the time. Great, fantastic school dinners at the London Oratory School. Anyway, oh, hang on a minute. What was I saying now? Anyway, school dinners. Oh, yes. So the meal. So Jim is sitting there, and I'm looking up there, and I'm watching how much people are having on their plate put. And I thought, oh, smallish portions there, I thought to myself. So what I did, I said, "Are you sure you don't want anything to go on? Have something to eat, Jimmy." "No, not hungry." I said, "I tell you what, Jimmy, go up and get yourself a dinner and I'll have it." And he says, No, I can't do that." I said, "Oh, please." I said, "Poor uncle is very hungry." And he's laughing. He says, "No," he says, "I'm not going up." He's 11 years old, by the way, Jimmy. He says, "No, I can't do it." I said, "I'll tell you what." I said, "Go up," because I've already had some money in my pocket to give him, later on. "Go up and get another dinner for yourself, and I'll give you £20. "All right, then," he said. So Jimmy and we then went up. Now, my sister, foolishly, my sister and my other auntie Brenda, she was sitting at the table, and they decided to wait a while. Now, let me tell you, take my advice here, right? If you ever go to a wedding or a birthday or something like that, as soon as you see people go and get the food, you must go up and get yours. Otherwise, a queue forms. So Jimmy and as soon as I saw them giving out the food, I jumped off that table there. I was like a Tasmanian devil. Not much room to move in here. I just turned around quickly there in my chair. I was like a Tasmanian devil trying to get to this food. And Jimmy came, Jim, come on, Jim. And he sort of lethargically got off the chair and walked over to me. I said, "There's your plate." He said, "Well, what shall I get?" I said, "Just get the same as me." So they had some very nice looking sausages and shepherd's pie. And I thought, oh, I fancy both of those. Now, fortunately, the bloke in front of me said to the guy who was giving out the food, he said, "Can I have a little bit of both?" He said, "Oh, of course you can, sir." And I thought, "Oh, that's what we're doing then." So it was my turn now. First of all, he put a sausage on the plate. One sausage. God. Well, incidentally, sausage. Why was it sausages? Sausages, Lincolnshire sausages, was one of my uncle's favourite foods. So I have a feeling, although I didn't actually ask, I must find out from my aunt, actually. I have a feeling that all the food there was my uncle's favourite foods. Do you see what I mean? So I had one sausage and I had a bit of shepherd's pie, and then I had, what I have to say, the most beautiful mashed potato, creamed mashed potato I have ever had in my life. It was absolutely delicious. So we had that, and a bit of shepherd's pie, as I say, and what else was it? Oh, I had a bit of onion gravy on the top of that, and that was it. So I took that over to sit down, and then Jimmy's watching me, and he got exactly the same for his plate, and then he sat down at his table. Now, of course, I hadn't told my sister or my I'm only sharing this with you, right? I hadn't told my sister or my auntie and uncle what I was up to here, right? So we sat at the table. Oh, I'd already had 2 slices of bread that were on the table, so I then helped myself to another slice of bread and buttered it. And Jimmy then tried to hand me his plate. I said, "Oh, no. I said, "Hold on to the plate. I'll take it from you when I finish this." Like, "Oh, okay." So I've started munching away, and I said to my sister, I said to my sister, are you going to get something then? She says, well, I thought you were going to get it. I said, well, how'd you work that out? She said, well, you said you were going to. I said, I never said anything of the sort. She said, well, I thought you bought me over something. I said, well, how can I carry something else? I'm carrying this. I said, go. And she looked over. Of course, by now, the queue was a mile long, dear. A mile-long queue trying to get the food. I said, well, you better join the queue. There'll be nothing left. So she says, oh, no, we'll wait for the queue to die down there. I said, OK, then. So I started stuffing my face. The sausage, beautiful. The cream mashed potato, beautiful. The shepherd's pie. Nothing wrong with that food, I tell you. If only it had been like that at the restaurant a week before. But there we are. So I had that. And then I looked over at Jimmy. And he hadn't touched it at all. I said, oh, look, Sharon, Jimmy's not eating his. Don't you want anything? No, I don't really want it. And she says, oh, you must have something. No, you don't want it. Oh, well. And my sister, she won't force him to eat if he doesn't want it. So I said, oh, well, hand it over, Jimmy. So he then handed over his plate of food to me, and I started munching on that. I said, do you want a bit of this? She says, no. She said, ain't you... My sister speaks like this, you see. Ain't you had enough? That's how she speaks. Ain't you had enough? I'm like, well, he doesn't want it. And she says, Jimmy, do you want anything? And he says, no, I don't want anything to eat. So I gave him a wink like that. I said, don't worry, £20 for you. And his whole face lit up. So I had his dinner. And then, while I was halfway through my dinner, what a cheek, dear. One of the other tables asked for the bread. They said, oh, can we have your bread? We've run out. What a cheek, dear. I said, well, does anyone else want any bread? And on my table, people said no. I said, well, I'll just have another couple of slices. I took a couple of slices and put them on the side of my plate. So that was that, right? I did look over, incidentally, and there was pudding as well, which was trifle, and I knew Jimmy would like that, so I knew he was going to eat something. Eventually, my sister went up and got something. She joined the queue. She must have been standing there 15 minutes. I told her, I said to her at the beginning, I said, go up and get your food now. Oh, no, don't listen to me. You're always right, aren't you, Sharon? Always right, dear. You sit there and chat away while we're all stuffing our faces with lovely food. She eventually went up with my auntie, and she came back and got fish pie, which looked quite nice. And then Jimmy says, oh... she said, do you want a bit of fish pie? He says, oh, I've already been up. So eventually, I think she went up and got him a fish pie, and he ate a bit of that. So that was good. And then we had the pudding, which was trifle. So I got some trifle and had that. And also on my table, incidentally, on our table, there was my sister, my nephew, my auntie Brenda. That was Michael's sister. Michael's the one that had died. And my mum's sister, of course. There's Brenda. There's her husband, Malcolm. There was Uncle Terry. He's always a great laugh. He's a great laugh. Uncle Terry. And who else was it? Oh, myself, of course. Oh, hang on. That's 6, isn't it? Hang on a minute. Sharon, Jimmy, me, Brenda, Michael, Terry. 6. Oh, it's 6, not 7. Where did the extra person come from? Ah, there you go. That would be the spirit of my uncle sitting with us as well, Michael. There you are. So that was nice. Went up to get some trifle. I had that, and then Jimmy got some trifle as well. And he sat down. I said, can I have your trifle as well? And he said, no, I like this. I said, I'll give you £5. And he says, all right then. But I didn't. Don't worry, I didn't. I still gave him the £5. I let him eat his own trifle. Oh, and I had a bit of cream on the top as well. So we're enjoying this and having a lovely conversation at the table. On the next table was my auntie, that's Michael's wife, Irene, and my cousin Susan, and everyone's chatting there. And as I say, it was so hot in this. It was so hot in this church hall. What happened then? Let me think then. Oh. My nephew popped outside, the little one. He said, I'm going to go outside and get a bit of fresh air. So he went out and he come back in. I said, is it any cooler out there? He said, well, there's a bit of a breeze. I said, oh, OK. Oh, they had tea as well. Incidentally, I meant to tell you that. They had bottles of wine, they had bottles of lager and tea. So I had a cup of tea, which it was a bit milky. Far too much milk in that cup. I said, I like a strong cup. You see, the trouble is, a lot of people, when they make strong tea, they do make strong tea, but then they overdo the milk. And that's even worse than a non-milky weak cup of tea. So I had my tea as well. And then I popped outside with Jimmy and sat on these 2 steps. Because there was a lovely breeze out there, and a lady came out there, and she came and sat on the steps. She was smoking. I don't smoke, of course. She was smoking a cigarette. And her little boy came out. What was his name? Denzel. Lovely little boy. And he goes to my auntie's dance school, and he's got like little dreadlocks. He was about, I think he was 11 or 12 years old, and he had lots of little dreadlocks. Very good looking little boy. And he does all the dancing at the school, and he got quite friendly with my nephew Jimmy, which was quite nice, because then he had someone to play with, and that was all very pleasant, really. Yeah. And after that, so we left. I think we left around about 3:30 in the afternoon, and I then took my sister because we wanted to go somewhere. My nephew wanted to go to the London Dungeons, okay? So we got there. We've actually found somewhere to park where there weren't any double yellow lines. I couldn't believe it. Most of that area is difficult to park, and as I've said before, I advise anyone coming on holiday to London, don't bring a car. You can do it usually all... I've got an itchy back, just a minute. You can do it all on public transport, buses, tubes and all that. Do not hire a car if you're just coming to London, OK? Anyway, we drove to the London Dungeon and found a place to park just around... I think it was London Bridge Station. Yeah, it was London Bridge Station. We actually found there are about 4 places where there's no lines on the road. Don't ask me why. The only thing I can think of is that they may have tarmacked that part of the road at some point and no one's put lines down. But there are 4 places where there's no yellow lines there. Just 4 spaces, that's all. And as luck would have it, I pulled up on the road and I said, "Excuse me, can you tell me where the London Dungeon is?" to this bloke coming out of a shop. He said, "Yeah, well, quickly park there." And there was an empty space at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Can you believe it? So we parked the car there. My sister's feet, oh, poor old thing she is, dear. Well, she'd worn special shoes for the funerals, you know, to look nice. And her feet were killing her. And she was desperate to purchase a pair of flip-flops, known in Australia as thongs. Now, if you're here in the UK, thongs are completely different, aren't they? They are tiny little pants with a G-string. Thongs in Australia are flip-flops. All right? So, excuse me a minute. Let me just clear my throat. That's better. So we got out of the car and we walked down to the London Dungeon, which we found. Oh, my God, there was a queue a mile long. An absolute mile long, this queue. So eventually we stood in a queue for a while, thinking that maybe a lot of people are taking in at a time. After about 10 minutes, I went to the front and said to her, "How long will this queue take to come in?" She said, "Where are you staying?" I said, "Near the back." She said, "About 40 minutes. Well, by now it's 5 o'clock. My sister's got to get the 8:30 train back up north. So I said, well, it was pointless going. So we found something else, the London Bridge Experience, which did look like it was like the London Dungeon. Now, I've never been to the London Dungeon, OK? So I cannot advise you on this. Do not confuse what I'm about to tell you with the London Dungeon. We eventually went to the London Bridge Experience, all right? Which is just next to the river. So we got there. How much was it? £20 per adult. £20, which I thought was a bit steep, right? But apparently, after I made my moan about how expensive it was, the woman then told me, "Have you got a train ticket?" And my sister said, "Well, yes." "Oh, well, if you've got those, it's 2 for 1 on the adults." Oh, that's funny. Funny that they didn't tell us the first time I went there, the first time I went to the booth, wasn't it? Huh? Anyway, so, OK. Now, my niece didn't want to go in, Tracy, so she decided to sit outside. I said, "How long is the experience?" He said, "Well, there's about 30 minutes for the first part of it and about 30 minutes to an hour on the second part." So that was it. For about an hour and a half, we're just about to do this. OK. So we went in and paid the money. Now, remember what this was called? The London Bridge Experience, OK? Listen to that. The London Bridge Experience, right? They are advertising two things for the price of one. So you go in and have this tour of the London Bridge experience, and then you go in and are supposed to be frightened. Well, I'm sorry. I have to say the first part, the 30 minutes, was like just people telling you stories. And the second part was not all that scary. I have never come across spending £30 for, what was it, £35 altogether, and I was disappointed. Not just disappointed, very disappointed. I find it boring. Absolutely boring. Now, I have to say, the little one enjoyed it. My 11-year-old nephew enjoyed it. There was only 1, 2, 3... There were 5 people in my group. There was myself, my sister, my nephew. There was a couple, a girl and boy, and there was a boy on his own. And they were about 25, 30 years old, those other 3. Boring. Complete and utter waste of money. If you come to London, I wouldn't bother going to the London Bridge experience unless you have very little ones with you. You will be bored. It was rubbish. Absolute load of rubbish. Did not enjoy it at all. Not only that, when we come out into a show, and we were around the whole thing in less than an hour. 20 quid for an hour. That's a hell of a lot of money for that. I thought it was an awful lot of money. If I'd have paid, let me think. If we'd have paid a £5 each, then maybe so. There was no way that was worth 20 quid. Remember the thing? The London Bridge experience. Come to London, don't bother, okay? Don't bother. Queue up and wait for the London Dungeon. And that's a hugely popular occasion. I mean, we should have known, really, because when we got to the London Bridge experience, there was no one in the queue. There was no one there. We just went straight in. And yet for the London Dungeon, it was a 40-minute queue. So, I mean, it tells you it all, doesn't it? But we didn't have much time. At least I'm pleased to say that the little one did enjoy it, so that made his day. So I mean, if it makes his day, it makes mine. But if I was there on my own, I'd be bitterly disappointed at that. The London Bridge experience, complete waste of money. Don't bother going to see that. Maybe you have seen that, have you? Has anyone been there? If you did enjoy that, or you've been to the London Dungeon, tell me about that. I'd like to know, OK? Chris at unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Chris at unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. There's a postal address as well if you want to put pen to paper. Maybe you're listening to the radio and you don't have internet. I shall give you the postal address in a second. Incidentally, no one's mentioned, those of you watching on YouTube, Current TV or Blip TV, or Facebook or MySpace, no one has mentioned the new address captions that appear when I'm giving the address sometimes. I'm very disappointed. All that money spent and no one's even noticed. Oh dear, why do I bother? So there's the London Bridge experience. Don't bother is my advice on that. After that, we then went to King's Cross. And after King's Cross, ready to get a train. So we got there quite early. I took my sister to see the Golden Lion. Now, I've got a bit of a news about the Golden Lion, which I may actually save for the next show, because we really haven't got time to do all these things in the show today. I'll save that for the news, but we walked past the Golden Lion, and then I took my sister. They wanted something to eat, and we could at King's Cross Station. Not a great selection of stuff. They've got a bagel thing. They've got an upper crust thing, which is like ham rolls and things like this. But yeah, was it called I think it was called the upper crust, but. That's what I would have gone for, a sandwich. But there's two things I will say there. Very overpriced. I mean, £3.50 for one of those pieces of French stick with ham and cheese in it. I mean, I will say they were fairly well filled, these sandwiches. You know how sometimes you get sandwiches and you're lucky to get a piece of lettuce and a thin slice of tomato in there. So there was something there. But very overpriced, £3.50 for one of those. No, and the only other thing is, I did notice all these sandwiches and that they were like in this glass counter. Okay, so I suppose flies and things like that they can't get there. But I touched a glass and it didn't seem very cold to me. And I looked, and it didn't look like it was like refrigerated at all. And I'm not being funny, but when you've got ham and meat sandwiches and things like that, you've got to keep them cool, or you get terrible food poisoning and things like that. I'm not saying that you would have got food poisoning from one of those particular rolls, but I looked at that and I thought, oh, that's not cooled. I said, no, we won't have any of that then. I said to my sister, that's not cooled down. And you don't know how long these rolls have been sitting there. I was looking at the cheese. The cheese looked like it had been sitting there for an hour or so. And you haven't got to leave meat out of the fridge for very long before you get the food problems, before you start getting the food poisoning problems, have you? So we left that. We then went to the bagels. Jimmy didn't fancy anything there. And I can't remember what there was a Burger King, but there was the queue a mile long for the Burger King. So we came out of McDonald's, and out of Burger King, and are you ready, Suko? Bless me, Suko, for I have sinned. We then visited McDonald's. And I had a Big Mac and chips and a vanilla shake. I didn't eat all the chips because, once again, as I say, there was a very, very hot day. We're sitting in McDonald's, no air conditioning. My God, it was hot in there, sitting there. Not only that, but there was all four of us wedged into these seats that was probably for two or three people. I was so hot in there. So hot. So I didn't finish all the chips. But bless me, Suko, for I have sinned. I do believe is it the first or second time this year I have been to McDonald's? But be honest, I'm not doing too badly, am I? Eh? Oh, that's the other thing I meant to tell you. Going back to the London Dungeon, as you came out of it, you were taken into this shop area, and they had these pick and mix sweets. And my nephew, he's gone in with £3 in his hand. He's got this bag and he's shoveling these sweets in. Well, if the bag was so big, he only had about, I don't know, a couple of inches full of sweets in the bottom of the bag. Well, the bloke went to weigh them. £5.50. £5.50 for a small bag of sweets like that. So he said, I've only got £3. Now, of course, I had some money in my pocket, but I looked at it and I thought, £5 for those sweets? I thought, no way. Absolutely no way. As I've said before, I'm not tight, but I'm careful with my money, and I do not like being ripped off. £5 for a bag of sweets, you're ripping me off, mate. So I said, no, I'm sorry, we'll have to put some back. So I said, go on, Jimmy, put some more back. So he said, and Jimmy took the bag and we went over to where the things were. He said, how do I do that quiz? Because, of course, he'd mixed the sweets up, hadn't he? So he's got Smarties and my favourite, which are the chocolate raisins. They're my favourite. He's got the chocolate raisins in there. He's got Smarties. He's got jelly beans. That's it, jelly beans. Oh, was there something else? No, I think that was it. So he's shoveling, he's being careful, but of course, you can't miss them all. He's taking it back over there. Well, this thing is still £4. She said, well, it's £4 now. I said, oh, it's still too much. You're going to have to put some more back, Jimmy. And he didn't argue. Give him his due, he didn't argue. I'm trying to teach him value here. It's not value. So as he took it, the manager came out and he says, let me just check that bag again, little one, and I'll see what they are. So he took the bag and weighed it. And he said, oh, no, it's £3. So he took the £3 off my nephew. And that was a nice thing to do, wasn't it? Possibly only the good part of that particular visit. Great big guy was this manager. So that's fair enough. So he let me have the nephew. He let my nephew have the sweets for £3, which is fair enough. £3 for that bag? Yeah, I'll go along with that. That's not too bad at all. So that was it. So they had the McDonald's, and after McDonald's, my sister and I, we came out of McDonald's, and at the traffic lights, we met someone I work with, one of the drag queens. Well, obviously not in drag, but we met one of the drag queens I work with on Sunday night, Sandra. And I was known as Sandra on stage, real name Dell, okay, Dell. And I was able for him to meet my family, my sister and my little nephew, and who's the other one? Oh, and my niece, of course. So I was really pleased that we bumped into Sandra, who is, in my opinion, has turned in the last 2 years. She has turned into the best. Okay, if you ever come to London and you want to see a drag show, look out for Sandra. That's the name, okay, Sandra. Really good drag show rather. So I then said goodbye to my sister, and they went into the station, and I went back to my car, and I had to go to the Golden Lion. Now, why Did I have to go to the Golden Lion? I can hear you asking yourself, because I had actually booked that night off. It was a Monday night, and I booked that night off. Well, I'm going to have to tell you on the next show, because there is just so much more to talk to you about. Okay, so we'll start off, or we're sort of early into the show. I'll tell you about that on my particular Monday. Right, now, I don't think I've got much time to tell you about my recent visit to my sisters, have I, today? But we'll do a little bit, and then we must go on to some emails, which are still building up here. Of course, where did we get to? We got to the restaurant. OK, that was it. Got to the restaurant, had the restaurant, disaster in there, especially the fact that they couldn't make tea. From there, we went to back to my niece's house, dropped her off, went to my sister's house, and this would be about 7 o'clock at night now. So I had a bit of a sleep. I woke up again at 7:30. No, half past 9. And 9:30, maybe 9:45 it was. I went downstairs to the living room, had a cup of tea, and Sharon was actually off to bed because she was quite tired. So I rung up Tracy, and she said, "Oh, come round." Easier said than done. Now, I'm a walker, okay? If anything is within 45 minutes walking distance, I will walk rather than take the car unless I'm in a rush. So I said, OK, I'll walk. So I looked outside, and the rain was just a little bit drizzly. It wasn't heavy at all. So I said to my sister, I'm going around Tracy. She said, take the umbrella. So I looked at her. I said, oh, I won't bother with the umbrella. So she said, OK. Of course, within 2 minutes of starting the walk, it really started pouring down with rain, didn't it? So I thought, oh, dear me. I thought to myself, blimey. That's not a swear word, is it? Blimey. And eventually I got near my niece's and I couldn't find it, could I? How stupid. I just can't find her house. She said, go to the bandstand, and it's right in front of the bandstand that walk up the road. I'm at the bandstand, I'm walking all around. So I've rung up my niece. I said, I can't find you anywhere. So she's come out to the bandstand in her night clothes. It's quite a new estate where she lives up there in Lincoln, in Woodhall Spa in Lincolnshire. She's come out in her bedclothes. She's walking through the streets, 11 o'clock at night, in her night clothes and a pair of slippers. And of course, it's pouring down with rain. I don't know why she didn't bring an umbrella out. So she's on the mobile phone. I'm on the mobile phone. And I said, I can't see. She said, can you see me yet? I said, no, I can't see you. She said, where? I said, I'm right in front of the bandstand, dear. So I said, well, walk to the bandstand. Well, I walked to the bandstand. She's at the side of the bandstand, which is kind of hidden by bushes. I said, well, that's not in front. She said, it is. There's where our house is. There's the bandstand. I said, you're at the side of it, dear, not at the front of it. God's sake, woman. So I went into her house. Now, fortunately, you know how it is, young couple, I bought them a tumble dryer, didn't I, for the house. They had already set up the tumble dryer. So poor old Chris in his wet clothes, I took off I borrowed my her boyfriend's dressing gown, which I have to say was a little bit too big. And I did point that out to my niece. I said, oh, it's a bit big. I did point that out to her. So I had his dressing gown on. I took off my socks, my sweatshirt, my T-shirt, and my tracksuit bottoms, and she put them in a tumble dryer, and they started in her new... It was her first thing she dried. Good job I bought it for her. Otherwise, I would have sit there rather damp. So then I got there just before bingo. On ITV Bingo. You know, I've started playing ITV Bingo. Now, it is free. If you're in the UK and you want to play it, you can play it and it's free. But be careful, okay? There is ITV Night Bingo. I think that's what it's called. That's the free one. And they play it on the television, I think, Tuesday to Saturday nights. You log on, you get your bingo tickets, and you play. Okay? I think the prizes are £50 for one line, £200 for 2 lines, and £1,000 for the full house. But it is free. When you sign up, if you get to a point where it asks you for credit card details, you're on the wrong one. Actually, I'm going to I'm going to find out the correct website for you now so that you don't make that mistake. If you're in the UK, it's worth you playing this because you can win money. You don't even have to be there when the game is being played because it's all on the computer. Now, each night you have to log on at some time. It doesn't have to be at night. Let me just type this in now so I know. You can have a look at this if you want to. I don't know if you can play it if you're outside the UK. Not sure about that. Let's have a look. Oh, I've typed that wrong now, I think. Let me see. That's it there. 1 minute now. Right, let me just log on here so I can tell you what to do if you want to play this. Right, here we go. The address to type in is www.itv.com/ now this is all one word, Bingo Night Live. Okay? Once again, www.itv.com/Bingo Night Live. Right, now all you have to do is register, okay, down the left-hand side. Now remember, if at any point it asks you for credit cards, you're on the wrong one, all right? So just register, put in your bits and pieces, and that's it. And then each day, as I say, you don't have to do it at night time. Each day before the game starts, you have to get bingo cards. Follow the website and it'll tell you what to do. You get your bingo cards, and once you've got them, that's it. You don't actually have to leave the computer on or anything like that, although you can do if you want. If you want to watch the telly and play along, you can leave your computer on and it plays it for you. As your numbers are called, they are blanked out on your bingo cards on the screen. Fantastic technology, that programme. I've been really impressed with how it all works. Or, if you want to, you can still, of course, print them out and do them with a dabber and all that business. Okay? And it's great. It is fantastic. Bingo Night Long, it's fantastic. So have a look on there and do join that. So my niece and I, we were playing our Bingo Night Live and we didn't win. And that was it, really. And then after that, my niece got my clothes out and I walked back to my sister's house, which were dry except for the cuffs on the hooded top, and that's it. And a very nice evening, really. And what happened after that? Is there any more exciting news from my sisters? My recent visit to my sisters, of course there is, but not until the next show because it's email time, boys and girls. You see, what a lot I've had to talk about today, haven't I? God Almighty, what a lot I've talked. Right, hang on. Let me just write down. So I want to start the other bit about Golden Lion news. Okay, so I'll start that in the next show. And now we move on to the emails. Quickly, dear. Oh, God, so much to do. And first of all, hello to Robert in... the postal address. You want the postal address now, don't you? Hang on a minute. Oh, so much to write down as well. Let me turn to the... Right, that's it. Okay, postal address. If you want to put pen to paper, I'd love to hear from you. If you're listening by radio, maybe in a hospital bed somewhere, the postal address is... Chris Reardon, United Kingdom Talk, P.O. Box 4073, Bracknell, Bracknell, RG42 9ED. I'm just going to turn the air off now. Once again, it's Chris Reardon, United Kingdom Talk, P.O. Box 4073, Bracknell, Bracknell, RG42 9ED, United Kingdom. Okay? There you are. You can put pen to paper and say hello to her. Do you like the graphics? Those of you watching, do you like that? Hey, loads of money that sort of stuff costs. Loads. Right. Hello to Robert in Iceland, who writes, Chris, I just wanted to read you out and kind of attach this onto the email I sent you a while ago about our friends in America. And Robert in Iceland just wants you to know, American friends, that I have just been going over my passports with regards to vacations. And to date, I have been to the States 12 times and have always, in capital letters, been treated like one of the family. They are a joy with their almost childlike zest for life. And for that, well, we love them. That's from Bob the Viking, who is, by the way, Anglo-Icelandic. That's good, isn't it? Anglo-Icelandic. That sounds good, that does. Thank you. Now, it's difficult to know which ones to read today and which ones to hold on to, I think. Let's say hello to Marsha. Hello, Marsha, who's recently joined our happy little family of friends and loyal listeners. And Marsha says, "Hi, Chris. Hope you're well. Thanks for reading out the last 2 emails. You asked about the hurricanes here in Florida." Marsha says, "Yes, they can be very bad at times. The worst I experienced was a few years ago when we had 3 hurricanes when we had 3 hurricanes hit back to back. The worst one was so wide in diameter that when it touched the ground, it did so for 24 hours. Can you imagine that? Having that sort of wind power going round and round for 24 hours? She says, all night long, we should hear was shingles being picked off the roof one by one. When we came out in the morning, 75% of the shingles on the roof were gone. A huge tree just outside of the wall of my bedroom had come down and was thankfully laying in between my house and my neighbours. That could have been deadly. Because of the span of these hurricanes were also wide, they wound up affecting the whole state. We lost power, as did almost everyone else in the state, and the power companies could not keep up with the amount of damage caused. With one of the storms, we had no power for 8 days. We were left with a boiling hot house, food we had to throw out, and hours of endless boredom. It was awful. The only way we could get power back on was from the kindness of employees at power companies in different states who sacrificed by driving down here to help the Florida power companies who were completely overwhelmed. The happiest sight I ever saw was when I was driving along the I-4. I know the I-4. That's the one you go to Disney on, isn't it? I know the I-4. I know the I-4. I've driven down that a few times myself. Driving along the interstate I-4 and seeing the power company trucks coming in from North Carolina. I wanted to get out of my car, stop the car and salute them. She said, I did catch your comments about Jamaica, and I'm sorry that you didn't have a good time. Well, I was only there a few hours, to be honest, Marsha. I was only there for a few hours, so all we did really was go to the shops. On the other hand, where the ship had docked, that is, they told us, just go to the shops and then come back and you'll be fine. They told us not to go anywhere else, so I don't know. Marsha says, I have actually heard other people say the same thing about feeling very unsafe there. It's a real shame. The funny thing is that most people say the same thing as you said, rather than saying the locals made them feel unsafe. They say the military presence of the police created the feeling of fear. There's truth in that, actually, yes. Was it the fact that the police were everywhere made us feel unsafe? Yes, I think it was. I see what you're saying there, Marsha. She says, I do acknowledge that as a tourist, you should definitely stay away from some areas. But when you are in a tourist area, I think most of those people know where their bread is buttered. And the police with guns are often the main cause of fear. That being said, there are dangers to tourists everywhere. When I'm in Jamaica, I have an advantage. So as long as I don't open my mouth, I blend in just fine. Yeah, that's the old black-white thing, I suppose, isn't it? Yeah. But you see, the thing is, Marsha, here in the UK, certainly we are all together, really. There are, of course, areas where you don't want to go. But I think I'm right in saying that whole black-white thing doesn't really, for me, exist. Certainly, there's a lot of places here in London. You go to the East End of London, go to the East End where there are so many different cultures living together. It just the whole, for me, the black-white thing doesn't exist. So that's fine, you know, and what have you. And that's it. Thank you very much for that, Marsha. Good luck in your other little thing you were telling me about there, my love. All right, I wish you the best luck there. Okay, how are we doing? Oh, 3 minutes left. God, Lee, I'm not going to get... I've got stuff here from Suko to read. Let's choose a short email. Let me see now. From Susan. Here we are, Susan. It's Susan, our cat lover, who says... Please, Chris, show us a little mercy. Mercy, mercy. Do you like that song by Duffy, Mercy? Oh, I love that one. She says, how could you show us a wonderful loaf of fresh baked bread and talk about slathering it with... I don't know, I haven't heard of that one. Slathering? Do you mean smothering? Is that the... I haven't heard of that word before. Who's heard of that word, slavering? Have you? Talk about slathering it with bread and jam, or butter and jam. Like most of us, I am trying to watch my weight, but me too, as you know, my dear. We're all watching our weight. She said, you've already got me drinking tea in the afternoons. I haven't drunk hot tea in 30 years. Twining should be sending me free tea bags, I reckon. You have me daydreaming about fresh-baked bread and jam. Please show us a little compassion and stop this. Take a guess on what I want for dinner. Bread and jam, yeah, I think you're right. Thank you, Susan. That's it today for the show. Chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk is the email address. Chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. I'll see you on the next show with some more of your emails that are still waiting to be read out. Thanks for watching and listening. Bye-bye now.